Congratulations. You have discovered another meta egg. Meta egg is a place where you can come and explore all the meta aspects of film. I'm Will, and I've been doing this for a while. And lately, to be honest with you, I've been kind of hung up on Alien Earth. Fighting with myself, trying to decide on whether or not I like it. I think I'm warming up to it. So I've decided that I think my main theory about the whole series kind of hinges on the names involved. And I figure I could do a quick little live stream here to explore the names in Alien Earth. I was supposed to be scheduled to do something else today, but I'm sneaking in and doing this because I've been called off of that task. And so I'm kind of just racking my brain here. So without further ado, let's get cracking. 2025's Alien Earth sees the one nightmare that we were trying to not let happen in all the other movies, which is like get an alien to the planet Earth. Like, God forbid that ever happened. And the entire franchise happens. It's a very bold move to just go ahead and crash land them there. What I'm confused about is the timeline. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but the timeline's off. From what I'm hearing, we are 2 years before Sigourney Weaver. So, I mean, okay, so I'm thinking, because if I remember correctly, Sigourney worked for Weyland-Yutani, which is the individuals who have a xenomorph. I don't think that the crew with Sigourney, Ripley, knew what a xenomorph was. However, it's recognized immediately and called by name in this series. And this series supposedly takes place 2 years before Ripley's experience. And I could be wrong. Like, if there's some fact checkers out there, tell me, explain this to me, because I'm not sure I understand. So you're telling me that that means that Yutani lost this xenomorph, right? I mean, that's what the one that is in Alien Earth does not make its way back to Yutani. And so she's sending out this message to Ripley's crew to bring back another xenomorph. I would expect to replace the one she's lost. I'm not sure if that like holds water, but that's what I'm sticking with. And what I else noticed, I mean, most of the Easter eggs that you will see about this series involve the surface subtext, which would be Peter Pan and Wendy, or the land. I mean, that's Neverland. They're on the Neverland, and Wendy is named after Wendy and Peter Pan. But I noticed if you go back and you watch like the very first episode, we'll bring that down here so I can bring it up on file. If you go back and you watch the very first episode, there's something that happens within the first 10, 20 minutes. And that is while Wendy's being put down on the table, Arthur, this gentleman right here, Arthur Sylvia, and his wife, Dame Sylvia, right here, are having a back conversation, like almost off mic. And he says to her, I had a dream we had a pig as a baby last night. It's later revealed that they have been trying but haven't been able to have any kids. But my theory basically hinges on these two's name. They're the only ones in the roster of posters we have here who have a double name. And I think that is our little meta egg. I think that these are in reference to other characters. But those characters, unlike most of the other ones, are not from Peter Pan and Wendy. It is my belief they come from Lewis Carroll. And it's based off of that whole pig baby incident. This is based off of the story of the Duchess. Here, the story of the Duchess. Alice in Wonderland, because there's multiple books. There's Alice in Wonderland, and then there's Alice Through the Looking Glass. And I'm not really sure of the history, but we're talking about this right here, which is the story of Alice's befriendment to the Duchess. And she's a little bit of royalty. She's like a lady. She's in the court. So I'm thinking that there's a little bit of that nature in Dame Sylvia here, but that's not where her name comes from. I'll tell you where her name comes from here in a minute. But the story of the Duchess is that she takes Alice home, and she's got like the frog who's kind of like her butler, and then she's got a cook. And when they're in the home, the Duchess picks up her baby, and the kitchen is just total chaos. Like, the cook won't stop spreading pepper everywhere and putting pepper on everything. And she's like randomly throwing dishes around the kitchen. Now, there's a lot of different characters going involved. There's the frog butler. There's the Cheshire cat, which also belongs to the Duchess. And then there's the cook. There's the baby. There's the Duchess. There's Alice. Now, Alice doesn't like the fact that the baby is in such danger. So she basically, the story goes, grabs the baby and runs out. But when she starts hearing like snorting from the baby, and she looks down, and the baby turns into a pig. Now, it's an allegory for the whole idea of nature versus nurture. Like, are we a product of the chaos that we grow up in? And so that overarching theme is blatant within Alien Earth. And so I think the pig baby comment is specifically referencing Alice in Wonderland. But there's also some other Alice in Wonderland little Easter eggs. For instance, the walrus doll that Alice uses, or not Alice, but Wendy uses. Wendy is given this little stuffed animal because they're basically, the overarching story is that these kids are put into the bodies of adults. So they're pig babies. And it tells you this. Arthur and Dame Sylvia's main problem is that they can't have children, so they have adopted these kids. Arthur is obviously having prophetic dreams about these babies turning into pigs, because they are growing up in chaos, and they will become a product of their environment. Now, Arthur is the name of a king, right? And her name is Dame, which is the lady of a king. And their last name is Sylvia, which means woods, which is where the pig baby runs off into. However, I have another theory on where these names came from, and this was sent to me by a friend of the show, an editor of the Sync book, Alan Abadessa. He said there's more books other than Alice going on here. And he cited one called Sylvie and Bruno. Now, Sylvie and Bruno is a story about a kid, Sylvie, and her little brother, Bruno. But there's actually other, and what this whole book is going through, Sylvie and Bruno, he'll just go ahead and look it up. Tried to find it within Lewis Carroll's little Wikipedia here, but I'm not having success. Sylvie and Bruno. All right, Sylvie and Bruno. There's Sylvie and Bruno, but the subtext of the whole story is this conflict between childhood and adulthood. And there's two different types of layered commentary going on, with the adults talking about adult things and the kids basically living within their imaginations. The two kids, as mentioned before, Sylvie and Bruno. However, the two main adults is Arthur and Lady Marmalade. Whatever. Murrell. It doesn't matter what her name is. The fact is, his name is Arthur. Her name is Lady, which is in direct connotations to Sylvie and Arthur. And that got me thinking seriously about these names. Like all of the names have like hinting meaning. And I'm not sure, like, for instance, Hermit. I don't think that that's his real name. I think Hermit, I don't think that that's Marcy and his last name. I don't think their last name is Hermit. I think that's his like code name, right? Because Boy Kavalier owns the whole basic city and he's sort of like a medic for that city or disaster relief for that city, I guess. And he has certain people who work with him, like Rahidi, which I'm not sure if that's his real name because that has extra meaning, and Siberian, which doesn't seem to be a real name either. But I think that there's subtext going on about those names, and it gives you sort of a clue about the behavior of that character. And besides Arthur and Sylvia, one of the big tip-offs on this is the fact that the other characters, the Lost Boys, have names that give them meaning from the Peter Pan mythos. One of the main clues for that is Slightly. When he's with Smee and they're in what Wendy calls the omelet, the nest of eggs, he can't remember what the companies are named or something along those lines. And I think Smee remembers first. And he's like, oh, I got it. I meant that's from Peter Pan. Slightly always had a problem with remembering stuff and would always say that he remembered after other people claimed it. So it's very possible that the names of the Lost Boys from the Peter Pan mythos somehow was a characteristic of the children that they turned into hybrids. And then the theory extends past that into all the other characters and the possible hidden meaning of their names, Kirsh in particular. Looking up Kirsh's name, it's like an old German, like Jewish name that means cherry, and it's usually given to individuals with rosy cheeks, which he obviously is it. You get the joke, he's an android. There's like no color, they're almost albinos. But Kirsh could also echo certain words for Lord, but it's a call to mercy. Like the name is basically about ripe fruit, nurturing, which he obviously is not. I mean, in the last couple of episodes, we've seen Kirsh's almost betrayal of the Lost Boys, possibly intentionally setting up Toodles. Is Toodles dead? What do you guys think? Do you guys think that Toodles is dead, Mike? Pig baby. And now we're live. What's up, Mike Porter? I think Toodles is dead. I think that those creatures that were in that cage, I mean, he's given them minerals, and I think they ate the minerals out of his head. So the Lost Boys don't think they can die, and yet Toodles is dead. That's going to flip the other Lost Boys out. Nibs in particular also has an Easter egg from Alice in Wonderland because she always stares in the looking glass, trying to figure out what she is. Nibs is a pig baby. Nibs's name in Peter Pan had extra meaning because it's not his real name either. His name basically was supposed to describe the character he was. It's a pen nib. Siberian could be, when I'm going to mail you off to Siberia. It's kind of a symbol of, what's the word I'm looking for? When you're out in the middle of nowhere, lone, isolated, isolation. Siberian is like a name that basically reflects isolation. That's what I'm looking for. Rahidi, his code name, let me see if I got this right, is Swahili for gentle or easy. And he's in chaos. Peaceful one. Could also have some sort of attachment to rabbi, maybe. But I think that it's a code name. I don't think Hermit is his name, but Hermit has a lot of weight to it too. For instance, the Hermit card in the tarot deck or so forth. Kind of a symbol of an individual who has knowledge but lives in isolation himself. So a lot of these names have to do with nature and nurture. Adam Ines is another, I mean, he's basically the guy you probably forgot about because he's the sort of like the assistant to Boy Kavalier. And of course, Boy Cavalier's name is on the nose. We'll get to that in a minute. But I mean, what could Adam in mean? Invisible particle, fundamental unit of existence. Oh, Adam Kadmon. Adam, like Adam and Eve. Ian is one. Oh, so his name literally means Adam one. Again, isolation. Isolation and nourishment. That's what we're dealing with here. That would make Hermit make sense. See, Smee's name is weird because I thought Smee was Smee's me. Smee's me. I thought Smee was a pirate. Isn't Smee one of the bad guys? In Peter Pan, Mr. Smee is Mr. Smee is comic, bumbling, oddly lovable, not as evil as Hook. Name echoes Smith and the common man, everyman, helper, the fool, the tool. Never, always serving, never leading. The one who may remain servile, innocent, even in corruption. So, I mean, that's a big key for Smee, right? I could tell us what's going to happen with Smee. Slightly, already from Peter Pan, slightly is conceited, always sure he remembers things better than the others, but usually wrong. Name, half present, tentative, incomplete. Does that not echo? Where is he? Toodles, Smee, innocent, bumbling, slightly. Slightly right now has got the egg in the air conditioner, right? He's heading off the island to give that to Morrow. Morrow's name is important. The man of tomorrow, the cyborg. But he's the man from the past. He has no past, right? His name implies future, but he has no past. Everybody's dead. I wonder what Utani means. Utani, like I said before, is Ripley's Wayland Utani? Is that how you say it? But what does Utani mean? Utani etymology. Hot Spring Valley. Life-giving. There are several hot springs named Utani. Utani Corporation, a mnemonic tool manufacturer, established in 1818. Utani, Wayland Utani is a fictional, that's in the Wikipedia for Utani, is actually the Utani Corporation. So it's like fruits, right? There's references to fruits and overabundance. So Dame Sylvia, the queen of the woods, out where the chaos lurks, where there be monsters. And if we're talking about If we're talking about Alice in Wonderland, then that makes the xenomorph the Jabberwocky. And we have to, I mean, we're talking about, well, you have her little walrus, which is a reference to the walrus and the carpenter, but it's interesting to look at the little stuffed walrus as a sign to analyze the story of the walrus and the carpenter, because the walrus and the carpenter go for all the young ones. They go to an old clam, and the old clam says, yeah, I'm not going to follow you, whatever you say. And the old clam just goes back to bed. But the young ones are let off. And then while they're with the walrus and the carpenter, they're basically shucked. And so that's kind of a nod to what Boy Kavalier is doing to the Lost Boys. He's sending them out before they're ready to become products of chaotic environments. His name, of course, implies a young king. Kavalier is like a knight, which would then throw back to Arthur and Sylvia. And those are the only three, I guess, that have the double names, correct? Everybody else is called by, there's Adam Ian. Adam Ians. Toodles. Curly, who's plotting against Wendy now. Kirsh, Wendy, Smee, Boy Kavalier, Nibs, Slightly, and Arthur. I don't know. My expectations are high for the last couple of episodes. And I'll be surprised if there's not another reference or something nodding towards Alice in Wonderland again. And I'm wondering why no one else is picking up on this, or if there is any Easter eggs out there or videos, the whole 108, 93, 527 Easter eggs hidden in Alien Earth videos that I'm not watching. There's a good one out there that has anything on the walrus, anything on Alice in Wonderland or Pig Babies, hit me up. I want to watch it. Because this is all, most of the Alien franchise is about gestation and reproduction of like this parasite, right? But most of the subtext is almost about abortion, with Sigourney Weaver and her cat like ejecting this mother out into space. Or in Prometheus, when the woman literally gets into a machine that does a C-section and gets rid of the baby thing that's inside of her. You'll notice that there's a lot of phallic symbolism in the heads or the little creatures that are like running around in Prometheus and stuff of that nature. There's a lot of gross bodily fluid, just naughtiness going on. S&M type stuff. I think that we've got too long of a timeline. I don't think the xenomorph will make it. And I think that that's why Utani is asking for it, is because by the time we get to Ripley, we know that company wants one. We have sort of like an impotent king and a false Grail king. And most of all of the other subcontext in the whole thing is the divide between adulthood and childhood. And most of the time, those are the most popular tales told in fiction, right? We have the Alice in Wonderland. We have the Peter Pan. Was it Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz? You have like Ahsoka and Clone Wars. Kids faced with real life shit. Boy Kavalier's name basically implies eternal childhood. His context to Peter Pan is undeniable, but it's set in this righteous wording of a gallant knight. It's like a boy playing dress up in rich armor. A parody of Arthurian chivalry. Kirsh, who's supposed to be basically a midwife, not so rosy-cheeked, calculating. And he doesn't really care. Like, I'm pretty sure he killed Toodles. I'm pretty sure, I mean, we know he knew what fucking Slightly was doing. So he's setting Slightly up. And I guess the big question, and the one that I don't know, is if Wendy will survive this. Her name is the most peculiar because it's not a real name. Wendy is a made-up name that did not exist before Peter Pan. He gave her that name. It in of itself is a code word. Just like Nibs or Slightly or Toodles. It's just a made-up name. She's taken on this motherly figure, but her name literally comes from the word friend. I can't remember how you say his name. Barry, the guy who wrote Peter Pan, had an individual, and you can find that story, like the story of Peter Pan or how it was written, turned into a play called like Finding Neverland, right? Isn't that what the name of it is? With Kate Winslet and Johnny Depp and that little weird kid who was in every movie back then. Like, that's the story. The mother's dying, but he initially called Wendy that because he had a friend who had a lisp, and his friend used to call him Friend, or he's Friendly. He's Friendly. Friendly became Wendy. Wendy means friend, not mother. So the names that they're even like, there's like 3 layers of code words going on here. Barry, Barrie is the name of the guy who wrote. So putting it together, we kind of have, I mean, they're all children, right? And they even make that comment that there is a monster that is like 1,000,000 years old here. The Jabberwocky, the xenomorph. And Siberian is like an exile child, right? Morrow is the future child. Atom Ian is the primal atomic child. Kirsh boy right here is a fruit. He's like the mercy child. Boy Kavalier is the parody king. Hermit is like the false sage. Is he doing the right thing? I'm not sure. Rahidi is a gentle, forced into chaos child. Slightly is memory falsehood. Doesn't remember things correctly. Smee is the servant. The fool. Nibs is just fucked. They erased her name. Like, she's a blank page, right? That's what Nibs means. It comes from like a character in Peter Pan who doesn't have much going on. There's nothing great about him. That's why he's like Peter Pan second or whatever. He's kind of like off to the side. And Nibs is the writing instrument to write on the page. Barry was kind of expressing this idea that he's just a clean slate. Well, they cleaned her slate, bro. And the first thing she did was look back in the mirror. If anybody becomes Alice in Wonderland, it's probably Nibs. Curly, I haven't given much thought. Let's see what Curly would be from Barry. What Curly's characteristics were as far as a character. Curly from Peter Pan's name, meaning. Barry didn't give him a deep backstory. The name itself carries symbolic weight. someone with curly hair, a playful physical name. He doesn't have a backstory. Curly is described as the most troublesome of the Lost Boys, but also the most humble. He often gets punished for things he didn't do. Oh, that's probably the big one. That's probably the connection. That's how Boy Kavalier treats her, right? She's a scapegoat. Innocence twisted by circumstances. Curled path. Curlies. Dope. Dope. In Alien Earth 2025 context, a curly would symbolize a hybrid whose path is spiraled, chaotic, punished for simply existing. Doomed child. Dope. Toodles. Let's find out more about Toodles. Toodles. Name meaning Peter Pan. One of the Lost Boys, often portrayed as the most gentle and humble of the group. That pretty much, yeah. He's the most nurturing. He's like taking care of the farm animals. Light, playful, almost childlike sound. Toot of a horn or a whistle. It carries a sense of innocence, cleanliness, yep, and sweetness. Toodles always, where's my marbles? Remember in the Hook movie? Toodles lost his marbles. Yeah, he sure did. Context to follow rather than lead. Tootling along without causing trouble. Yeah, I think it's solved. I think the whole mystery of Alien Earth is solved in the names. And my expectations are high because I'm still not decided on whether I like the editing style or not. It's just, I mean, getting more warmed up to it for sure. We have 2 left. I hope we don't go back in time again. Although I did enjoy Morrow. And I think Morrow's name is dead on. He's the man of tomorrow without a past. The bionic man. All right, guys. I think I'm going to call it quits just off of that one. I probably might do another video. I hope you guys have been paying attention to Gary. I have a new host, Gary the Gray Alien. He's been doing a lot of videos for me. He just does stand-up. All gray aliens are named Gary. That's why it looks so different in each one. They're all doing stand-up. They're all like lending me a hand and cracking out some meta eggs. And then I got some live shows coming up here soon for you guys with some guests talking about movies. Most recently, I've been watching. Here, let me get real close up to him. I got to talk to you guys here. I just watched this movie from 1956 called The Bad Seed. And I'm not going to ruin it because there's a lot going on that I've planned in here to talk about it here in the future. But my friend Paranoid American, who you guys might know, he was mentioned on Joe Rogan not too long ago. Paranoid American hit me up and he wanted to watch a movie. And we've traced it all the way back to this movie from the 1950s called The Bad Seed. I'm saying that this is such an influential movie. There is no harm in any of you guys watching it. It is phenomenal. I mean, if you like that sort of thing, if you can sit through a Hitchcock movie, if you can sit through a Twilight Zone, you should probably go watch this movie. But I've been thinking about it for the last week or so. I might be kicking out some. I'll talk to Paranoid and ask him if I can make some Garys involving The Bad Seed here soon, because it inspired. I have a theory that it inspired stuff like Rosemary's Baby and The Omen, because it's basically the story of a psychopath kid, and it predates Psycho by about like 3 years. Psycho was like one of the very first movies that used psychological like jargon as a way to explain the tendencies of the villain, so to speak. Like there's that big exhibition in Psycho where the movie basically ends on the psychiatrist giving you the whole lowdown and like this little excerpt. And there's a lot of that in the bad seed, but it spawned stuff like the good son. It spawned all kinds of stuff. And I want you guys to tune into that one because I think you'll really enjoy it. But I think you'll enjoy it more if you go out and you watch Bad Seed first. You can find it on archive.org. Just type up Bad Seed. It's like, the traditional like letterbox style of the old movies. And if you like that sort of thing, yeah, you should dig in. You should dig in, right? I'll also encourage you guys to hit that bell, all of the YouTube stuff. It's very important. I need as much support on this channel as you guys got to give me. And until then, I shall see you next eggs, my brethren. Stay cool.